everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Fourtress, of a podcast about movies, TV shows, video games, and lots of pop culture and nerd things. My name is Oscar. I'll be one of your hosts today. And with me, per usual, two of your other hosts. We got Brian, a.k.a. New Reliable, also known as Mr. Negative on a Dragon Ball Z Redemption arc. And special surprise, as we honestly don't know, but we found him, and he is alive in this world. It is Devin, also known as Mr. Nowhere, very much living up to his Mr. Nowhere name, I will say.
Because man was literally not in the continental United States for some time, and none of us knew.
I was in the territories. Extended U.S. territories.
Exploring the world. Yeah. Yes, it is Devin, listeners. He is here.
I was putting together some flights, JetBlue, Southwest. I flew Southwest for the first time, and if you've never flown Southwest,
it's pretty nice.
They don't have assigned seats, which
nope, they do not.
I loved, but I also looked like a dumbass when I asked the flight guy. I was like, "Hey, man, like this doesn't have a number. Like, where do I go?" And he's like, he literally put my phone down on my back. He's like, "Don't look at that. Anywhere you want, anywhere you want." And I was like, I don't understand. Like the first row, like I said, it was zone 1. First row, like anywhere you want. It made no sense.
It's great if you want to sit with someone because you can just go, "Hey, can my friend sit here and you switch with me?" And they're like, "Yeah."
Right.
Or they'll fight you. I don't know. It is the airport, so who knows?
Yeah. People are unhinged there.
No first class. It literally rewards like checking in early, which I'm a big fan of. So.
Oh, yeah. Love that. Yeah. Love that.
So that was pretty great.
So listeners, this is a podcast about different airlines and how much they are better than other ones.
Listen, if you get on Spirit Airlines, you can get one parachute between your group. There's only one. They will not be stopping at your destination. You will be jumping.
No. It's absolutely.
But the tickets are $18, baby. So let's go.
They kick you in the shin before you sit down.
They don't realize that Spirit Airline stands for the Holy Spirit, because that's what you're going to be praying to when you get on this plane.
Did you bring an extra bag? Fuck you. Get the fuck out.
They just chuck it out the plane mid-flight. Sorry. All right. So with that, listeners, with that exciting tidbit of banter, guys, we got a pretty big anticipated show today. So should we get into our first topic of the week?
Let's do it.
Yep.
News talk.
First piece of news. Okay, so this is very personal to me, listeners. Superman and Lois is a cherished show that I very much love. Season 3 is in the middle of it right now. It's a very good show compared to all of the other CW shows, and also just a good show in general. I will still say season 1 is still the best. I love the writing of it, the budget of it. It looks not like any. I gotta keep talking, or else Devin's gonna say something negative.
He said it's a good show compared to other CW shows. That is saying absolutely nothing.
Like, that's a good drawing compared to the other first graders. Like, okay, sure. Like,
I was setting the bar low because I knew Devin was gonna come in hot with this one. So I will say, look, I really enjoy this show. I think it is a great depiction of Superman and Lois. Superman's a dad. I think it's very good. I had a feeling it was gonna be on the cutting room floor at some point because the CW has been talking about they're done with the superhero era. All of the superhero shows have ended and or have been canceled. This is basically their last one. But they did say they are renewing it for a 4th season. They canceled Gotham Knights, which who cares because that show fucking sucks. But there are some downsides to this greatness of coming back for 4th season in terms of apparently, one, it's going to be shorter. It's only be 10 episodes as opposed to I think they're usually 12 or 13, which is not too bad. It's fine. Also, a tighter 10 might be better. But apparently it's going to be real. That budget gonna be real not
they told us they're gonna be cutting the budget, which they should not have told us that.
No.
Maybe let us figure that out ourselves, because now no one's gonna want to watch that nonsense.
Oh, yeah. Now it's gonna look like all the other CW shows, and that sucks.
Mm-hmm. So my question is, I haven't seen the CW since I have not had cable, and that was back when I was in the struggle era of my life as a child.
Yes.
What else do they have on TV that's worth watching that they're willing to get rid of all the superhero shows? Yeah. What's on
Riverdale?
CW?
I feel like Riverdale was their cash cow. I remember people talked about Riverdale for years.
Oh, so Riverdale's their ridiculously of MTV.
I think so. So.
Gotcha. Okay.
What else? Yeah, CW just doesn't deserve to exist, really.
Right.
Yeah, literally, I don't know what else, to be honest, was on that show that people were gung-ho about. So I don't know. I honestly don't know.
It seems like they're shooting themselves completely in the foot unless they're trying to get rid of CW completely. I don't know what's going on.
which might be a thing. It might. I mean, it seems like they've been talking about how they want to get back to. I think they want to get back to like their teen drama, like a la like. I think they want
Teen
like
Wolf.
a Degrassi style shit.
Oh.
Yes, or some shit like that. Brian got excited by the thought of Degrassi.
I've been rewatching that shit recently.
But like that used to be their like shtick, was like these teen dramas where every teenager is actually 30 type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was all that shit.
One Tree Hill.
Yeah, basically shit like that. Yeah. So as much as I love that this is coming back for 4th season, I'm slightly upset that the budget. I'm worried because they've also said that means with the budget cuts, not only like will the show maybe look different, but also like a lot of the series regulars will no longer be able to be series regulars, which means they're not going to be in it very much or at all. And it's just like, what? Oh boy,
You're getting you some Heroes season 3. It's probably what's going to happen.
This
next.
is honestly, yes. And
jump ship.
with the writer's strike going on, it's like, who knows? Who knows, dude?
For TV show too, the writer's strike, that's just like a death sentence. So
Yeah,
I
think that's gonna be the 4th and final season, probably.
Honestly, and then it's a bit of a bummer. It is a phenomenal show. I truly enjoy it, but hey,
phenomenal.
Dude, I honestly really love this show. I think it's a great depiction of Superman. Honestly, it's probably a better Superman than we had in the movies for DC. Like it's better. No offense, and y'all know how much I love Henry Cavill, but like as far as the character of Superman, the show is probably better at depicting Superman than the movies have been.
That's saying less than you think it is. Because you were probably absolutely right. Based on what we've seen of Superman in this version of DC, you're not saying much there.
Bro, which my mind was blown. We'll talk about it in the main topic, but man, okay. We'll talk about it later. All right. Next piece of news, some video game stuff. As we know, Amy Hennig, who was the lead, the creative director, or the director of the first 3 Uncharted games and wrote the first 3 Uncharted games, she's doing a Star Wars game. And this new piece of news that came out via WSNN, which I don't know what that is. Apparently, the lead director of that canceled Star Wars 1313 game, which we all saw that demo of and we're like, holy shit, this looks amazing. And then it never came to existence, is going to be a part of this game now, which is kind of exciting news and makes me think, are they just secretly reviving this 1313 game and no one knows it, you know?
I hope so. Because honestly, I mean, we're in a really interesting part of Star Wars world right now when it comes to things that are being created. I think with the success of Andor is directly affecting that this is coming back. That plus EA Games willing to give a little bit of leeway to letting other companies actually create, other developers create Star Wars stuff.
Right.
It's like the perfect storm of exactly what we want when it comes to Star Wars gaming. I think had Andor not done so well, had EA stopped being such a fucking idiot, everything just aligned to make this happen again. So I really hope it is so that, because it's something interesting, it's something new, it's something different. Maybe not new, but it's something different than what we've had in a long time as far as Star Wars goes.
If it's not like verbatim 1313, it's still going to be awesome. Like, well, it should be.
It seems like it has the pieces to be an incredible game, and I'm hoping it is just based off the people that are a part of it.
I mean, I'm excited. Know Amy Hennig as being what was the director on the Uncharted series?
Yep. So if like and that Star Wars 1313 game looked like Space Uncharted, third person action shooter type of shit. And I was like, fuck, let's fucking do this. Hell yeah.
Hopefully not so sociopathic as Nathan Drake.
But wait, boys, I'm reading a new headline. Oh, they're adding microtransactions. We're gone.
They added a battle pass. It's gonna be a live service game. Oh no. Yeah, no, this is very exciting news because obviously, like with Amy Hennig, you get the story because she wrote those stories of the first Uncharted game. So if she's back in the story, and then you get the director who was seemingly based off that demo creating a phenomenal looking game, that seems like a winning combo. So that's very exciting. So we'll see where that goes. Who knows?
That is exciting.
All right, next piece of news: Netflix had their, I guess it's annual at this point, little conference called Tadum, which I genuinely did not know was happening. I forgot completely. And I was like, oh, look at all this news that just came out. And so obviously there's a bunch of stuff they're talking about, different shows and movies that were coming in the future, blah, blah, blah. But there's a lot of stuff that who cares? So we're going to talk about the stuff that is important, namely our next piece of news, which is the Avatar, The Last Airbender live action Netflix series, which they put out a tiny teaser, but there was no footage. It was just a bunch of the 4 different elements and some music. And so we're not talking about, it's not trailer part time. That'll come in a little bit. So, but they did release some photos of the 4 main characters, I would say, of Aang, Katara, Sokka, and Zuko. And I think it looks good.
Well, hey, if Netflix track record proves us anything, this is going to be absolute dog shit. However,
I know. I'm just like, ugh. I honestly I wish this was anyone but Netflix.
Yeah, like any of the other streaming services would do a good job.
So I do know that one of the executive producers is one of the showrunners. That being said, it's not one of the main creators, and some of the creators had some issues with what's going on here. So I know there's been some already creative differences and things that have happened.
Surprise.
It is also Netflix, and Netflix has probably about a 30% win rate when it comes to, I mean, that's being generous, 30% win rate when it comes to
30.
anything that's been worth watching. And I'm already looking at some of those things, and I'm like, that editing looks a little bit, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
To add on top of that, there was controversy with the actor that was playing Sokka, because he dubbed himself as a Cherokee actor.
Okay.
And fans did some digging and found out that was not true, that he's not actually of Cherokee ethnicity. And that's the whole situation too. So he might not be the person of color that we think he is. So we're in a weird space to start this off. That being said, they're making an effort. They're making more of an effort than the movie did.
True.
Honestly, like we said, having the best drawing in first grade may not be the best, but when you're comparing the little Timmy back there that still doesn't know what the fuck hands look like maybe this isn't such a bad idea. Like maybe we'll still get something better than what we had.
Honestly, like the thing that probably worries me the most is the fact that this show, at least in theory, should be a pretty heavy VFX show with all these powers and shit.
Yep.
And I'm worried it might not look good.
Netflix does not put money in the right stuff, and that's what I'm worried about. They have to put Stranger Things money in there, and I don't think they're ready to do that with anything.
I don't think they are either.
Especially considering what the other like anime-esque shows they put out so far. They have really slept on the budget, and that's been one of the biggest issues with them.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest worry and concern. Obviously, we'll talk about it when the first teaser or trailer comes out. We'll that'll be the first thing we fucking talk about, because I think we're all, at least for me, I'll only speak for myself. I am very excited to see what this actually looks like in motion. But I'm just nervous, man.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks because my expectations are going to be high regardless. I just love Avatar. I think Avatar was honestly a sleeper hit in so many ways that no one expected Nickelodeon of all places to make such a phenomenal anime, to be honest. It's honestly an anime. Despite it being English made. That show's phenomenal. So to take something phenomenal and try to reprise it is a really, really hard job to do for even Disney. We've seen even Disney can't manage to do it, and they have infinite money. They have the money cheat codes. So if they have money cheat codes and you're playing level 1 at Netflix, I'm worried. I'm worried about it.
Yeah, we'll see. Again, I'm still excited. I mean, look. The fact that we're getting this and the creators of it who are not a part of the show are doing their own thing with bringing more anime movies and shit. The fact that we're getting so much more Avatar universe stuff is very exciting.
For sure.
Yeah.
So we'll see. They say 2024. So I would imagine maybe before the year ends, we'll get a teaser. I would imagine.
Let's hope so.
We'll see. Taking a quick step from the actual to-dumb thing, we had some other Netflix news that cropped up recently. In terms of their giant, remember that whole thing about their password sharing thing? They're going to be like, no, you can't do that, blah, 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 all this shit. Well, this was according to the analytics tracking firm Antenna. Apparently, Netflix made a right move.
Boo, I hate it.
We have to look in the mirror on this one.
It turns out that Gen Z sucks at pirating stuff because the password sharing ended up with them making money when they tried to stop from password sharing happening, because people that didn't have signups, they fucking signed up. And why did you do that? I'm looking at you,
played right into their hands.
The audience. I'm talking to you specifically. You listening right now. Why the fuck did you do that?
You made this happen.
What were you thinking? I don't know. I still haven't got an issue with it. My parents definitely watch my Netflix. We share it.
Oh, really?
And I pay a hefty $20 a month in order for them to watch it with me.
Right.
That was before the password sharing crackdown, and I did not get an email about them logging in. So I assume that they watch it more than I do, and I haven't had an issue. So I assume it's been fine so far.
Is it only for maybe it's for more? Like if you share it with I don't know, 10
Well, that was the
people or
thing. I was always
something.
confused by it. Originally, from what I thought, it was apparently like you had to live in the house.
Yeah, that's
like
what
it
it's
was
supposed to be.
based
Same
off like
house.
your Wi-Fi password. So that's why I was like, oh, how's that
Mm.
gonna work? So it's kind of been very confusing, to be honest. I don't really know.
My parents do not live with me.
That's what I'm saying. That's why it's like it's very
To clarify,
confusing.
to clarify.
To clarify, I do not live in.
Oh,
I
that's
do
why.
not live in my mom's basement. I may look like I do, but I do not.
But yeah, that's why I was like, oh, so I honestly don't know how it works. I've never tested it.
Yeah, all I know is that I was
Mm.
expecting to get an email very quickly after that happened. I did not get one. But whoever they sent it to, apparently it worked because they did sign up. They said they got what? You said 25%
Oof.
net gain based on
Yeah.
subscribers leaving compared to subscribers making new accounts. So
Right.
Still pretty recent though. I say we should see what it looks like in a year.
that's what I'm saying. I think that they're playing with statistics in a very specific way to make it look like they're in the green. But I think overall, they're still definitely a net negative. And I think that as we go through the next quarter, we'll definitely see that when it comes to investors' meetings and things like that. Like, I don't know that they even give the investors numbers anymore. They might not
Yeah,
do
I
that
don't.
for that reason, because it always looks bad. But if they do, if we do end up seeing it, I have a feeling that we'll see a net negative.
For me, it's a pet peeve because it's like, I mean, I don't, I use somebody else's Netflix, but still, like, if I pay for a streaming service and I have the login information, if I want to share it with people, it feels like a right. Okay, it does not feel like it's negotiable.
I mean, it goes back to
So-
like physical media as a whole. Whereas, like, if I had the DVD, box set of The
Mhm.
Office, and I give you the DVD
Right.
box of The Office, now you can watch The Office. Like, you didn't have to buy
Yeah.
it or pay some DRM fee or something like that in order to watch it. Like, you just were able to,
Yep.
because I gave it to you. But now that we're in the streaming service thing, no one owns anything. So then they have the
Mhm.
right to do this kind of goofy shit that they do when it comes to these kind of things.
I don't know if y'all saw this on Twitter. Amazon made like they put a little jab out against Netflix when this crackdown happened. Of like Amazon put like a tweet that was like, "Oh look, here's our user account and like the password is password or some shit." Basically saying like Amazon doesn't give a fuck if you share the Amazon Prime password to anyone type of thing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Well, see, they got the money too. That's kind of what I
Right.
wonder though. Is will the others kind of copy suit? Like, will Max, maybe do the same thing, or Apple TV? Apple TV is already hard enough to share, but like,
if they see that it makes money, they absolutely will. Do
I
it.
feel like Max will definitely be the first people to do it. I don't know that Amazon
Yeah.
will. Max has already been really shitty with the way they've been doing their price models, so fuck them for that anyway.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. But all right, interesting shit. We'll see how it continues to go. Back to the Tadum, and now sub segment within this segment because we're going back to the trailer park. It's time to go, boys. Let's go.
Mom's Spaghetti.
Racist. American flag.
the blue line.
I'm glad it's back. Yes, listeners, we're in the trailer park because with the Tadum, we got two very interesting teasers for two different shows. One of them we'll talk about right now, which is for the, I guess, people that were excited and much highly anticipated live action adaptation of the One Piece anime, which is not a show I have ever seen, but I know it's beloved and huge and is still going on
Yes.
now. Like it's
One
still
Piece
happening.
is like 1,100 episodes at this point. I don't know if
Jesus
they'll ever find the One
Christ.
Piece. At this point, I'm gonna go out and find the One Piece my fucking self. I've decided that it's just my turn to go ahead and take a look for it, because if it's taking you 1,000 episodes to do it, and maybe you ain't looking in the right place. Maybe I need to search somewhere else.
Never
I
find
don't
the
know.
one.
The thing is, like, what at this point, other than just like making money, which is maybe what it's about at this point, like, what more can you
Right.
say with the story and a set of characters?
I honestly don't even know. I have no idea what the show's about. And based off this trailer or teaser, I would say it's like, oh, it's a pirate anime. Okay,
Mhm.
I guess. All right.
The
Yeah.
issue with Netflix trying to do anime is it always looks like a fan fiction YouTube film made with $500.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
please, because this is literally what I wanted to ask.
That's fair.
Why does every Netflix show look the same? Like, why do they all have this weird filter? The CGI is kind of weird. I was like, I don't know what it is that they do there, but they all have this weird, like, filter that I do not like.
It looks like you found a bunch of cosplayers, and that's the thing. That's why it looks like a fan
Yeah.
film.
Mhm.
Like you said, with it gives me a lot of things that sci-fi used to have an issue with back when the sci-fi channel exists. I don't know if it still does at this point. Where
Right.
sci-fi
Oh, yeah.
looked like they exclusively hired college students, like freshman year college students in the graphics department, to do all of their
It's-
CG work.
Yeah.
It's
That's
like
kind of
Anaconda Scorpion
Yeah.
versus Crocodile Shark.
and you just came to like know it. It's like, okay, this is the sci-fi movie, so of course it looks like
Yeah.
that. Netflix has definitely solidified itself in the same way where it's like, okay, it looks like you hire someone for maybe like $25 max period over maybe like a 4-hour span to do any graphics for your TV show. And that's just basically what it is. I'm not a huge One Piece fan. I haven't watched many episodes because I think that the first episodes are atrocious looking. I think the art style is despicable. I also think that anime shouldn't be live action, just period. I feel pretty strongly about that. This shit looks atrocious.
Like, I didn't think it looked super terrible, but again, like you said, it almost looks like a fan film at time. And I'm just like, oh, how many seasons will this get on Netflix?
I think this would be a great college like project, and that's the best I'd feel about it. But the fact that I know that people with hundreds of millions of dollars are making this show, this does not look good enough to me. I don't know, and I don't know what you would do different. Because I just don't know that you should make anime into whatever this is. Feels so milquetoast in comparison.
Wait, finish that sentence. If you're at Netflix, because I could see like other ones doing it pretty well.
Like I just don't know. I just like imagine Attack on Titan and imagine them like making it into a trailer that looks any semblance of this. You'd be like, what the fuck is this? Like that's not what I know that to be. Like we're gonna make sure we kill the Titans. Like what? What is? And it's a shonen anime, so it's this anime for 14-year-old boys. So it's supposed to be a little campy. But this just still feels a little. There's a dissonance here that I'm just. And they've made stuff before. We all know that Cowboy Bebop was a flop to the point that the creator of Cowboy Bebop was like, "This is not what I wrote."
Oh shit!
No.
Oh no!
And this is giving me almost the exact same vibes as that when it comes down to it.
Don't worry, guys. Avatar: The Last Airbender is going to be great.
It's really unfortunate they show both these things together because it's like I now have less faith in you guys from that. Yeah, I see this being a one season and done, and that being the end of it. Unfortunately,
it is kind of weird because hasn't Netflix done a pretty good job with like it's made some original animes that are pretty solid? Like
but they're anime,
right? They're not. Yeah. Again, I think it's a budget thing. Like there could be some exquisite shots, but then there are other shots where like, ooh, the hell happened there? Oof. Yikes.
I don't know. I don't like.
We'll see. All right, moving on to our last quick piece of news in this trailer park. We got a teaser trailer for The Three Body Problem, which is a new series coming to Amazon based off a very beloved sci-fi book series, which I didn't know about. And I guess the biggest headline other than that is that it's a show run by the two creators of the Game of Thrones series. And Devin, I wanted to ask you, because you were the one who was the most interested, because based off this teaser, I don't know what the fuck is going on.
I mean, neither do I. I know it's some pretty intense sci-fi, but I know that the thing that made me curious about it is that the book I think was like very widely loved, but it's also I think by a Chinese author, which is something that I don't know, I just feel like I haven't really seen much of before. So but the idea I think is that from what I've heard, it's like a physics thing. Like apparently two bodies in physics in space like act pretty predictably, whatever, but then if a third body comes through, like then it throws off things and, it's kind of harder to predict. So I think the idea is that our solar system kind of like collides with another one or something, or like something like that. And it just causes a lot of chaos, things like that. Didn't really look like that from the trailer. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I could be completely wrong, but I'm excited to check it out for sure.
Yeah. I love sci-fi. And I do think I really just like Asian media. I think a lot of it tells, a different story that I don't think we're used to as in American culture that can really tell some interesting things that a lot of times are like synonymous with some of the shit that we go through that I don't think we think about enough. So I'll be interested to see kind of like the allegories that exist in this media.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, again, it's I'll be interested to see how it turns out. Again, I'm worried. There's some parts of this where I'm like, that Netflix budget is
bad.
Worrisome.
It looks fucking bad, dude.
I'm just like, God damn it, man. It's annoying.
It sucks because like Stranger Things doesn't usually look bad, so I don't understand how shows
Stranger
like this.
Things looks great for the most part.
So I don't know how some things can look so awful. It's like they don't believe in themselves when they make new IP.
Basically,
and that bothers me a lot because it's like you could actually have something here if you just put the money into it. Like
because even shit like The Witcher, which like they marketed The Witcher like this is our new Stranger Things. This is going to be the moneymaker. And there are parts in that show where I'm like, that shit does not look great. So it's just like, oof.
Also, Will Filter on that show.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, true.
But all right, that is the news, listeners. Sorry that took so long, but there was a lot to catch up on. Guys, we've done it. Shall we now move into our main topic of the week?
Yes, please.
Let's fucking go.
I would love to. I would love to know, with all the multiverses we have on this earth, I would love to know how y'all feel about this one.
Listeners, we are trapped in another fortress. This might be the most highly anticipated fortress we've ever had in terms of it's been 9 years in the making for this movie. There's been a lot of drama, which we'll talk about in just a minute. Yeah, let's get into it because we are in the fortress of
The Flash.
Flash, the movie that was supposed to come out 5 years ago, 8 years ago, 2 years ago, is finally here. Fuck. We got a lot to talk about, and we're already running long, so let's get into it. I will start real very quickly and say, no, this movie is not the second coming of Christ, like everyone said it was. It is not the greatest comic book movie. It's not. I don't think it's anywhere close to that.
Okay.
It's not The Dark Knight. It's not any of that. But I will say
that.
I mean, Tom Cruise was saying this movies are back because
this marketing of this movie was wild.
wild shit. James Gunn.
A bunch of random people just kept going and saying like this is the best movie they've ever seen for some fucking reason.
Yes. Yeah. And it's not that, but I will also say, I enjoyed it for the most part. I think once I realized that it's not what I thought it was, it's tonally not what I thought it was based off those trailers. It's a comedy. It is a lot funnier and light in tone than I thought it was going to be, which will work for some people, may not work for others. And I think for me, once I realized that, I was like, okay, let's go on this ride. Let's have fun with this. Let's do this. There are points in this movie. The movie's kind of a mess, but I think for me, having watched 9 seasons of the CW Flash, I was like, a Flash story is kind of a mess sometimes. And so I think I was okay with it for the most part. And also, like, all the kind of the big twists towards the end that we'll talk about in spoilers, not right now, I kind of guessed and kind of saw coming because of the Flash knowledge that I had. So it wasn't like this big, oh my God. I was like, okay, cool. Moving on. Let's continue. I will say, though, some of the bigger emotional moments that are supposed to be like kind of gut punches don't really work for me. There's one in particular that does, but for the most part, there's some that don't quite work just because there's not enough time with these characters. That being said, I think Ezra Miller does a great job as Barry Allen, specifically in terms of, and we'll talk about that more probably in spoilers, the CG of the fact that 90% of this movie is Ezra Miller talking to Ezra Miller, and I didn't think about it really, is kind of incredible.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, like, holy shit, that's one person talking to one person.
Yeah.
Like, those aren't two different actors. That's kind of nuts. And for the most part, I think it works. There are some CG in it, wonkiness every now and then, but for the most part, just the acting ability of Ezra, I think, does a phenomenal job. I was like, holy shit, that's nuts.
I want to make a note that I do want to come back to that point, and I probably will when I talk about how I feel about it with the Ezra versus Ezra kind of situation there.
Yeah.
We'll put a pin in that.
Okay. yeah. We'll definitely come back. I think Michael Keaton's fun to see back. It's a nostalgia bait, but I think he's great back as Bruce Wayne, as old man Bruce Wayne. I think he's great. It's just fun to see. I think the one negative before I'll send it off to you two, that I will say is I wish there was more Supergirl in this movie. I think Sasha Calle is phenomenal as Supergirl. I just wish she had more to do. She's kind of wasted, and I hope she comes back in the new James Gunn era, because I do think she's really good, and I would love to see more of her. Yeah. But in this movie, she's kind of wasted, and I will explain a little more in spoilers. So, all right. Devin, me and Brian have talked about this before the podcast, but we've both agreed that we need to know what you think of this movie.
Well, as everyone knows, who listens to this podcast regularly, I am a huge fan of DC properties. I think that, they've just done a phenomenal job all the way across the board. The recent
Number one
years.
fan.
It's just controlled chaos. Like, that's just what it is. No. I went into this movie expecting it to be absolute horse shit. And
wait. I need to cut you off. Listen, Devin, can you tell the listeners what the text was that you sent me and Brian before you saw this movie?
It was just a picture of the ticket. It's like why does this feel like a bad financial decision? Because it really did at the time. It was like,
before he walked in,
It felt not just a bad financial decision, it felt like a bad decision. Because I was like, I could have been, it was a hot day outside. I could have been chilling at the pool. And I was like, man, I gotta go see this dumb movie. But I think because my bar was so low, I think that really helped this movie for me.
Yeah.
And honestly, like the biggest thing of this movie that made it was Ezra Miller. Like,
there you go.
Very, very good actor. Like, they did a great job. And regardless of all the moral issues with them as a person, I might slow down a little bit because I got to make sure I get it right. But like,
yes,
with all the issues with them outside of, you know, as a person, they carried this movie. Like, carried the movie.
As
like
much,
100%.
not to cut you off real quick. Two things real quick. One thing, yes, we obviously have to acknowledge the terribleness of Ezra Miller as a human being. We're trying to just kind of talk about this movie as a movie, and we fully acknowledge that what they did is a lot of horrible fucking shit. And we don't want to support that at all, but we also know there are a lot of creatives behind this movie that aren't terrible people that did terrible things. Yeah. And so we're trying to talk about that without but also just wanted to let the listeners know, we obviously do not endorse any of those things.
No,
second thing, I can't remember. So go ahead, Devin.
Well, yeah, I mean, I what I would say is that I just like, it made me laugh. It made me feel something when it came to like the stuff with his mom. So, I mean, I was like, it was solid. Like, I think I would rank it for DC movies. I would rank it pretty high because it's, you know,
I think that might go back to Brian's whole first grader drawing thing again of ranking it amongst the other DC movies. Yeah. But hey, I mean, I'm with you.
And it's a good lesson in expectation management. If you expect literally nothing, you might have a good time. So yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I left the theater glad that I had seen it. So, which is good. Way more than I expected.
Right? Yeah.
Oh man.
It's funny because every time you watch a half decent DC movie, you're like, wow, they really, you know, they didn't fuck that one up. Like,
it's so sad.
You're like, I was just expecting so much worse.
As a DC fan, it's so awful. I hate it.
Oh god, that's so funny. I guess I'm back on my dark arc. I don't know what to tell you guys.
All right, yeah, here we go. Mr. Negative is back. Let's go.
In my opinion, the best part of this movie was the fucking end, because then I knew I'd never have to deal with this shit ever again.
Whoa.
Oh my god. Damn.
I really like it's really tough because I didn't hate this movie. This is not a bad movie, but it's so goddamn mediocre that it's almost insulting to me. And that's almost worse in a lot of ways when it comes down to it. Like you said, like I think Ezra Miller really carried this movie, and I hate that I love their work because honestly, they were some of the best parts of a lot of these DC movies throughout the the series.
Yeah.
And that was why I wanted a Flash movie for so long, because I thought they did amazingly. They kept the lightheartedness to such a dark world, but in a good way, not in a really forced way that Marvel tends to do. It's not formulaic as much. Like some of those jokes really, really land, which I appreciate. Yeah. That being said, this story was a mess. This story was a fucking mess, dude. And like, it's so funny to me that this gets so much praise compared to other DC movies, because it has a lot of the same issues that I have with DC movies, is that it feels like they just cut together and just like glue and tape shit together from like other shit they filmed and then try to pretend it's a coherent movie. And it's not. Like, it's literally not, because it's like moment to moment, great. There's some stuff that's like, that's really good. It did not make sense to put that scene right after that, though. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay,
and that happens so often to me in this movie, where I was just kind of like, huh? Why'd they do that? Like, there was times in the movie that I actually literally like shook my head and like pressed against my face, where I was just like, what was that? What the fuck was that? Doing? And that's without even talking about the CGI. Some of the CGI wasn't bad. It was an atrocity. I'm talking about, you guys remember the PS2 games where like the CGI trailer in the very beginning before you get to the press start screen, and that's the only time you're ever going to see that. You're never going to see that good looking of a game ever again. That's what it looked like. Those games came out in 2002. It is 2023. What the fuck is happening there? Like,
and that's where we talked about this, and I agree. Like, there is some really terrible CGI in this, but part of me is like, I wonder if that's because they knew like what was more important to them was making sure that the Ezra talking to Ezra scenes looked good. And I was also like, maybe that's why.
But I think in a movie where the CGI is so heavy, I think bad CGI you kind of maybe tune it out after a while because it was so ever present that you just stop really thinking about it because the story's going. So I don't know. For
Honestly,
me,
that's
didn't bother me.
yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I
same
never
with here.
tuned it out, and it didn't get bad. It got worse. And we'll talk about it. Towards the end, it gets so fucking bad that I was in shock at how bad that it looked. We'll get into it. I don't want you to get too far into it because I don't want to get any
we'll talk
spoilers.
about
it. I think I know what you're talking about.
It gets worse.
I think we all know. Yeah,
and that's the thing. We talk about the Ezra versus Ezra kind of like situation there, where it's like some of it looked really good. And I think they did really good with shooting to make sure that when they did have a stand-in, that it wasn't like jarring, and you knew that it like obviously it wasn't Ezra, but we don't know because of the way that they shot it. They did that really good, and then it's like they almost forgot about that, and they just started doing really bad CGI in place of it. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? You would had such a good idea on how to make this work, and I think they got a lot of that from like what was the fucking Oscar Isaac Moon Knight. I think they did a really good job with that as well. So I feel like they took a little bit of some from that, and then they just forgot about all of that. I don't know. I just didn't fuck with this. I really didn't fuck with this.
No, that's fair.
And I know Flashpoint, I don't read the comics, so I just want to make that known as like Flashpoint I know was a very beloved comic run story for the Flash. If I was a big fan of the Flash, I'd be so disappointed in what I saw on the screen. I don't know. I just don't feel like this is what people wanted, but maybe they did because I feel like I'm in the minority in my feelings right now. So
honestly, I don't think you are. I think this movie's going to go 50-50.
Yeah.
I think there are going to be people like you and people like me in terms of, I will say like, going back to the CG, there are definitely times in this movie where I'm like, that's the real Ezra. That's a weird Ezra with a weird filter over their face. I don't know what's happening. For a lot of the shots when Ezra's talking to Ezra, I was like, that I can see where the weird CG one is and where the real Ezra is. So that's kind of an issue, but whatever. And then as far as like, in terms of how this movie is 50-50, I fully acknowledge there are points of this movie that are so cheap and emotional, like emotional cheapness and like nostalgia cheapness, but they were intended for a person like me. And I 1,000% like acknowledge that will not work for people like you, Brian, or for a lot of people in this. I fully fucking acknowledge that it's cheap and it's easy, but I loved it at times.
It's just so crazy to me that there's so many DC stories that are so well constructed, like way better than Marvel, and then we get some shit like this that just felt so fucking milquetoast, where it's just like, I can put this in my pocket and this is a little candy. It's like, okay, like what the fuck was that, bro? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just asking for too much. I don't know, maybe I'm asking for too much.
No, you're not. I don't think you are at all. I think you're absolutely right, especially with the hype that came behind this. I think all of us couldn't help but think of all of that hype.
And I was trying so hard not to. Like, I really had low expectations coming into this. I put all my issues aside with Ezra themselves. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to see this as a movie as a movie. See what I feel. I didn't feel good.
Interesting.
All right. With that, let's get into spoilers from here on out, listeners. So if you haven't seen this movie, go check it out. Or wait or not. I don't know. Feel what you feel. If you're excited, I don't know. With that, spoilers.
Let's say let DC get some money before they make some real movies.
Right. Let's quickly start out with the opening of this movie in terms of the bad CG. Man, those babies look fucking terrible.
I was talking to Oscar off air that after I first got on this, I thought there was a point in time where they were throwing actual like baby dolls off of the building. It wasn't until they actually got close in that I was like, oh, they're trying to pretend that these are real children. And because I thought it was a joke in a joke, that they were throwing like fake babies to make a joke. And then I realized like, no, they're taking this seriously. And that was the first time that I was like, oh no,
bro,
this movie.
Yeah, bro. Because I was with you. I thought it was just that one baby that the nurse is holding, and then all the others were like fake babies or some shit. But no, there were like 8 real babies falling to their death.
Which was kind of like it was a dark concept. Obviously, he's going to save them all, but yeah.
Bro, he put a baby in a microwave.
Also, wait, okay. The microwave there was a burrito in the microwave because it had just been plugged in the room. And then it was out. It was still cooking because it was falling out. And then it was not plugged in. I was a little jarred by like, wait a minute, that microwave's unplugged. But yeah, it was unplugged. So that's why he put the baby in it, and it's fine.
Yeah. And he saved the service dog.
Save the service dog.
They do talk a little bit about how you can't move people too much because of what's happening there. It's too drawing for them. So he said, I can move stuff, but I can't really move people. So that was the whole point of putting the baby in the microwave, which I appreciated. And then they had to, of course, they did that with the making the joke of putting the baby in the microwave. We're nuking the baby. Based on the things that have happened with Ezra Miller, maybe we shouldn't have done that.
That's a little.
It's one of those. It's one of a few jokes that I'm like, this was probably filmed before we really got deep into the issues that was happening.
Especially right after that, where he saves the nurse. He's like, yeah, this can be emotionally scarring. You should probably see a mental health professional. I was just like,
that was a tough line. I'm not gonna lie. As soon as I heard that, I was like, oof.
I felt like that was 100% put in because of the situation. I thought that they probably reshot that because of what they went through.
That's wild. If they did that, that's wild.
What the Flash said after that, I kind of missed, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh no. Well, they were just saying. Barry was just talking about how the Justice League, we're not very good at like handling trauma after situations like this. We're still working on that. Yeah. So either way, I was like, that's a real on the nose line. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie.
It felt a little pointed in ways that I wasn't.
There was another one later, but I mean, we don't have to talk about that yet. But I mean, it felt. Yeah.
We'll talk about it. Yeah. I will say though, this whole sequence, I really enjoyed this little mini Justice League reunion. I thought, and I'll probably bring this up again towards the end. I think, man, if anything, this movie truly proved that what a missed opportunity was with Ben Affleck's Batman.
Yeah.
Like, what a fucking missed opportunity for him to have a solo Batman
movie. He needed
movie.
a solo movie, dude. Batman vs. Superman was not fair. Like,
why not just let him direct it? Wasn't that the issue?
Well, I think it was that, and I think it was like when he was going to direct and write it, and then they got a different director, and then obviously that became the Robert Pattinson, the Batman. I think also, no, not going to lie, I think Batman v Superman and Justice League kind of killed Batman for Ben Affleck as a human being. I think it was like, I don't really want to do this anymore. This is kind of exhausting and terrible.
Honestly, Wonder Woman's the only one that got any fair treatment when it came to the Justice League as solo movies, and even I think the second Wonder Woman movie is an atrocity as well. It's just so weird that like, Superman didn't really get a good run. Batman didn't really get a good run. Everyone just kind of got shafted. The Cyborg didn't even get a movie. He kind of got Justice League fakely. And only the Snyder cut, because the original got so much stuff got cut from him that he didn't exist.
Right.
I just don't understand what happened with this movie series. Like, what the fuck?
We'll talk about that in a second when we get to the whole Man of Steel stuff, because I can't believe it's been 10 years, but we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think I mean, if anything, what a good note for Ben Affleck to end on. I think him as Batman and Bruce Wayne in this movie are very good. I especially love the line. Obviously, let's talk about the cameo that genuinely surprised me that Wonder Woman was in this movie. Yeah. Considering we heard reports that her cameo was cut. All right, I'm saying it now. When we get to the end of the year awards, Gal Gadot is cameo queen of the year.
She got time.
How many cameos is she gonna make? How many will she do?
We've seen 3 in what, 2 months?
So she's had a lot of time.
She got time.
Like, she is trying so hard to be like, yo, James Gunn, I'm Wonder Woman. Don't you dare fucking cut me.
Yeah, don't touch it.
Don't you dare cut
Whenever
me.
she had a free couple hours, she was hitting up James Gunn like, hey, I got the time. Like,
I couldn't believe it. And I loved it. It was nice to see her again. If it is maybe her last time, who knows?
Can't be.
Yeah, obviously the lasso truth jokes are always funny. I love how Batman acknowledged, like, oh, I really should. If I really wanted to save Gotham, I should just end poverty with all my money. I love that. That was so good.
That was probably one of the worst jokes to me in the whole movie. That it felt a little too Marvel, where it's like, okay, you're making a mockery of like a otherwise very like stoic character.
Yeah,
because he wouldn't say
fair
that.
Enough,
shit.
fair enough.
I love the lasso of truth. It's always fun.
I did love what Barry said though. He was like, yeah, it's not that I know of sex. I just haven't had it before.
Oh yeah, Barry's a virgin.
That's fair. That makes sense. Honestly, if I would see Barry, I would think he's a virgin.
But see, on that line though, his awkwardness and timing is so good. Like his comedic instincts are great. I just feel like, I mean, their comedic instincts are great.
You'll get it someday.
Talking about Barry Allen, it's all right. Yeah, you're talking about Barry.
Yeah. Well, no, in this case, I was literally talking about Ezra Miller. So.
Fair enough. Yeah, you should probably correct that. Yeah. No, you're not wrong. Again, I think Ezra does a phenomenal job with this character. I think, like I don't know what else to say. I think it's unfortunate, but I think they are good as Barry Allen.
Yeah, it feels very natural, and I think that was going to be hard to do with that kind of character because he's the funny guy. I mean, Flash has always been the funny guy. At least from like the cartoons that I've watched with Flash in it, like he was always that.
Yeah.
So I hate to see good actors be shit people, but it happens more often than not.
Yeah. Before we leave this whole baby saving section, just shout out to we get to see Jeremy Irons as Alfred one more time. Again, another person who I think was a phenomenal casting and was wasted along with Ben Affleck. I think if those two were in a solo Batman movie, that movie would have been fucking phenomenal. And it's unfortunate. So goodbye, Alfred.
Just like that.
Yeah. Let's continue on our terrible CGI trend, and let's skip a little bit. We'll talk about Barry's mom in a second, but let's go and skip to the Chronosphere. Let's just talk about it now, and the fact that it looks terrible. Everything about it looks awful. I don't know if it's like, I wish I know if this was meant to look like a weird claymation sculptured look, or if it was all meant to look live like real people. Because if it was meant to look like real people, they failed utterly.
And that's where I come back to the PS2 graphics, where it's like, there were so many ways, like aesthetically, you could have made it look, it didn't have to look like you said, like it didn't have to look like people. But if you don't want to look straight like human beings, there's so many artistic ways you can do that with still a cheap budget. But if you want to look like people, there's also a way that you can like cut and connect things that make it that you don't have to use 3D models in the first place. So it's weird they took the time to build 3D models and then build them so poorly. I'm just like, why did you do that in the first place? If this is what you were trying to get to, you would take scenes from a movie, cut them, and then interpolate them into a way that it looks finished.
Yeah.
So I just don't know what the fuck they were doing there, because that looks so
I don't know.
bad.
I just like to think about that is most likely. Until maybe like years from now, James Gunn ever brings them back. But for now, that is the last time we'll ever see a Henry Cavill looking Superman, and it's this weird, terrible CGI looking Superman.
Like, he looked bad. His muscles were wrong. The anatomy was incorrect. His face looked goofy as shit. He was really pale. The lighting was wrong. Like, everything was wrong. Like, everything. You can tell they outsourced so much of this, and I guess they had to kind of meet goals.
Yeah.
But like, this movie got pushed back so many times that what time do you need to push goals at this point? Like, I just don't get it.
I know.
I just don't get it, dude. I would love to know, and hopefully this will come out at some point. Like, just what was the development cycle for this movie? How badly did
Honestly,
it go?
fuck. Like, for real. There could be a 2.5 hour movie about the making of this movie.
And I want to see it, because I would love to know what happened here.
I will say one positive about that thing. I kind of love the idea that whole time Barry is running backwards.
Yes, that was
like
funny.
his legs are moving backwards. I thought I was like, oh, that's kind of an interesting thing I've never seen for this character in live like this before on the big screen like that. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, the rest of it is just like, and I think it's the thing is that we spend so much time in that setting that it's like, oh,
it's gotta be good,
guys.
And it wasn't.
Guys.
Like, that's the thing. We can reuse assets because they do reuse it. And that's another bad part. It's like, if we weren't here so long, it wouldn't bother me. But the fact that I was in here maybe like 3 separate times during the movie at least, I was like, what?
Yeah,
bro.
Yeah.
Yep. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Also, I do like how they finally acknowledged in this movie his goofy ice skating look.
Yes.
And they made him do that. But when he was running up to get to the Chronosphere for the first time, it did show his legs really starting to go fast.
Yes.
And then I guess when he enters the Speed Force, that's when it starts looking goofy as hell. But I'm glad they showed that, because I always thought he looked so dumb.
Yeah, I think that was the point of everyone knew that looked terrible. So I'm glad they poked fun at it. Yeah.
It's also funny because they do show other Flash run differently. He does not run like
right.
And I was like, huh. So they still committed to this, and then also show that you can run and not look like a fucking idiot.
We had a whole other graphics department that could have done better.
Right.
But yeah. I did. Yeah. Oh my God. The scene where he's when he lost his powers and he's trying to run around the room. That shit was so funny.
That was great.
I laughed out loud.
That was the best moment of probably the entire film.
The best.
Because they made such a on-the-nose fun of that ridiculous scene.
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh my God.
It's so good.
Funny.
And that's why I wonder, is that improv? Did Ezra really go in there and just this is stupid as fuck, so I'm going to make a joke about it. And everyone was like, that's funny.
Why is it necessary to throw your arms across your... no running form I've ever seen has anything...
I will tell you, but at least when Zack Snyder and they concepted this whole running, it was based off of speed skating. That's why he looks like that. like straight up like Olympic, like Apollo speed skating. That's why the design behind
which
it.
is
It's dumb, but there you
I just
go.
don't see the reason. Like when I think of like Olympic sprinters and stuff like that, it looks very different. And
Yeah,
that's
I
what
think
I
it
would
was
have
just
drawn
like-
from. I would think personally, the fastest people on Earth
Right.
that way.
honestly, I feel like
Yeah.
a Looney Tunes like wheel legs would have been better. Like,
The Sonic the Hedgehog, just a red ribbon.
like if
Right.
they literally just make his whole lower half just like a whirlwind of legs, probably
Yeah.
would have made more sense. Like,
I mean, that is one thing. Was like the movie doesn't really go into much explaining. Like they never explain like why Barry's lightning is now yellow, whereas in every other previous movie it was always blue. Because sometimes it's also blue in this movie, and then sometimes it's yellow. There's no explanation for any of that. There's no explanation for his new suit, which is fine, whatever. But I was just like, oh, what? Nothing at all. Because like even when with the two separate berries, one is blue, one is yellow, and it's like, why? Is one
Yeah.
more powerful than the other? I don't know.
I think for
Don't
that
matter.
is so you could tell them apart. But yeah, I mean the other,
Yeah,
other stuff.
that makes sense. That does make sense. Yeah.
And also like the his suit I didn't love, but I don't know. But I guess his other suit was kind of blocky. But it was cool that they tried something new. But it was just very.
They tried something new. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was interesting.
it didn't
was
look
fine.
bad.
No, I don't think so either. I do love the little like visors over his eyes. I think that's kind of fun.
Also,
Little-
he made a line about bug stuff in your teeth. It's like, why would you just wear a face mask too? Like,
It's true.
Oh, we're
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about
Oh.
why was there so much shit on Ezra's face in this goddamn movie. They always had shit on their face for some reason. Just one specific berry. The other berry was usually clean, but the main berry, he always had shit on his face.
blood.
It was a really like almost like a fetish kind of weird movie in that aspect, where it's like, were they trying to do something
and, like,
here?
Food, like blood,
Dirt.
food.
Whenever he had
blood,
dirt on his
yeah.
face, it was only on his bottom half of his mouth, like around his mouth. When he had spaghetti, it was around his mouth. When he had blood, it was around his mouth. Why do he always had
True.
shit on his fucking mouth? What's
That's
going
That's a
on
good
there?
point.
What the
I will
fuck?
say that, like, just while we're on this note, the slapstick nature of this movie, I loved it. Like Barry, he got beat up so much, and it was phenomenal. Like when he was getting electrocuted, he was losing teeth. When they're fighting Bruce Wayne in the kitchen, and he
Oh my
throws that
God.
wine bottle at him, just like the thud and the way he hits the floor was so satisfying. Like it was beautiful. It was
That's
so
what I'm
good.
saying. Like the tone of this movie is fucking wacky. It's weird as hell, dude. And that's why I think it will not work for everyone. Especially like again, I had to adjust mid movie. Where it's like, oh, this is just the movie. This is the tone we're doing. Okay, then. Once I got on board, okay.
I just think they had to take it to a different level. I felt like they couldn't really
That's fair.
They couldn't commit to enough of what they felt like they wanted to do. Because this could have easily been
Oh,
like
yeah.
Ragnarok level. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, this is really
Yeah.
zany.
Oh, this movie could have been a 9.
Yeah.
This movie could have been a
But
9 or 10.
It like
Absolutely,
weirdly
and it's
stuck
not.
safe in the wrong places, I think. And I think that's what really made it kind of jarring to see it. And we'll talk about that towards like the ending. Where it's just like, what the fuck were we actually doing here? You know what I mean? Like that was what really bothered me.
Right. We'll get to his mom towards the end because that's, I think, the big emotional crux. We'll get to it in a second. So let's talk about the fact that this movie, one day off. This movie came out June 15th, the Thursday, technically. Man of Steel came out June 14th, 2013.
That's wild.
This
Wow.
movie is like a celebration of 10 years of this DC universe. This is this movie's Endgame, and I do not feel the same way about it as I did with Endgame.
That should have not have been the
I couldn't believe, I was like, oh my God, it's been 10 years since Man of Steel. And there's a lot of Man of Steel in this movie. And I do not feel the same way about it. And it's very sad to think about. Like, again, like with Ben Affleck, what a just missed
I'm
opportunity
about to say,
for this universe.
you know why? Because all the Man of Steel shit just became plot fodder. It was fucking useless.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That was the most interesting part of this. For me, from seeing the trailer, that was the most interesting part about me is the fact that it was going to be Man of Steel, but everything's different. Like, because we
Yeah.
have to come into, this is a giant what if episode, is what it basically comes down to.
Yeah.
I was really interested in seeing what changes with the what if. They did not touch any of that aspect. And I know it's supposed to be an
No.
overarching story about more than that, but all this shit just turns into nothing, bro.
It's basically just there for the action set piece. at the end.
Exactly.
And that's also my biggest complaint, I think, with the movie was that I thought it was going to be another universe, but I think maybe they felt beaten to the punch by Marvel with the
Maybe.
Spider-Man. But like the fact that it was the same timeline, but you changed certain things. I didn't like that because it made it like that you had to kind of try to erase it instead of, oh, you can save this timeline and then go back to your own. So I really did not like how it was like, they said it like rigidly had to be the same timeline instead of like, oh, you're just in another reality, another universe.
Right. Okay.
And you can leave it.
That's fair.
You know?
Yeah, no. Although I will say I love in any movie when someone has to explain time travel. And I particularly love the spaghetti analogy of this time travel. I really enjoyed it a lot.
That was new. That was definitely something, that was definitely new.
We unsauced it. We unsauced the spaghetti.
I really love that a lot. But yeah, I mean, this is things that I know I will acknowledge that I'm only the person that might have enjoyed this. I love that we get to see that Barry was there in Man of Steel. He was going there to save people. He saved one kid, and then that's all he could do. And I kind of love those retroactive fun things like that. Again, this is 10 years since Man of Steel, a movie that I, for the most part, enjoy. I obviously acknowledge its flaws, but it just kind of blew my mind, like that they were doing some minuscule things like
also,
that.
Did that kid and son die together this time?
Oh, they're all fucked. They're all fucking dead now.
Because,
yeah.
They showed how horrible that whole thing was. And then they're like, oh, yeah, it's happening again.
To be fair, I'm pretty sure the whole planet's fucked because I'm pretty sure Zod wins in that universe anyways.
And
I think by the end of that movie, I think Zod wins.
Right? The whole thing just doesn't exist.
No, I think that timeline continued. I think that timeline is
and
fucked.
they just die. That's just how they all just die.
Oh,
but that's another thing that bothers me about this movie is they very adamantly try to tell you that like we're gonna take this to this one place to explain away how the Act 4 is fucking disgusting looking in a. I cannot stand the Act 4 issue of putting everything in a fucking derelict desert when you want to use a lot of CGI because it's the easiest fucking laziest way to do things. Like we get it. You just don't want to animate around a bunch of buildings and shit. I understand.
Yeah.
That being said, to pull all those people away from Metropolis and be like, we're gonna put it here, and then still showing the people dying Metropolis is so fucking goofy. Because like the whole point was to stop this from happening. And like I know it's supposed to feel like, oh no, like we can't do it, but they didn't acknowledge the fact that they knew that they couldn't do it. They just pivoted and pretended that part wasn't happening. Like, oh, this child and dad are still gonna fucking die in Metropolis.
Well, this time the son's gonna die too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both get to die now.
But it's okay because we got 8 people out in the desert right now, so we're saving lives.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
What the fuck are you thinking? What is happening?
No, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. Before we get to that climactic, let's quickly talk about Siberia / the saving of Supergirl.
Oh, pretty cool.
Michael Keaton's Batman was phenomenal.
That was sick.
Was phenomenal. Everything he did. I don't give a shit if I knew. I was like, that 70-year-old man cannot move like that. I don't care. It was so fun to watch.
I would have just preferred a movie with just him and Ezra Miller. I think that would have been better.
Yeah.
Don't add anybody else. Call it what it is. Don't even have Zod in there. Just do something completely different. This would have been a much better movie for me if that had happened. Because Michael Keaton definitely was...
so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Like he was creatively hitting people with his elbow.
Oh. He zip lines a dude and then kicks him in the chest. Oh, so
he was an interesting character.
Yeah.
I love when we make Batman crazy. Make Batman crazy. He's supposed to be fucking... He's supposed to have mental illness issues. Like,
right. No, you're not wrong.
In this universe, like he solved all of Gotham's crimes and just became a raging alcoholic. He's like, oh, Gotham's one of the safest cities on the planet. And so I just drink my troubles away.
I love that that's the reason that he's not Batman anymore, and not the fact that the man's fucking in his 70s. Like,
oh, I know.
I solve crime, so that's why. And it's like, no, you're also 75, so like probably you should cut down on this shit, bro. Maybe get Robin to do some shit.
I also love the fact that, like, because it's Michael Keaton Batman, he still has, like, really old technology. So he whips out, like, a flip phone. He's got, like, a ruler, like, a tape measure at one point. I was like, oh, that's so funny. That's so good.
Analog Batman. That was cool.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Yeah, I think Michael Keaton did a phenomenal job. I think he was great in it. I think he's a good mentor to Barry in terms of he does help him out throughout these time. He does have good words of wisdom once he cuts his hair. Obviously he says, "Let's get nuts," and I'm Batman. He does all the classic shit. But yeah, no, I thought this whole Siberia sequence was phenomenal. I think he looks great.
Yeah, one complaint I had with the Siberia sequence, of course, it just looking really fucking plain and generic, which is unfortunate, is
Mhm.
it was another situation where I think we could have given. I don't know, and maybe this is me just being a little bit too generic in myself, but I immediately think of Mass Effect 2, Devin. When they first find what's her face, the bald haired girl from Mass Effect 2. And they have her, Jack, and they found Jack in the exact same kind of situation where she's in this, in case, she's so strong that we have to keep her in this, like, cryogenically frozen, basically. So I wanted to see her, like, come out of there and be angry and fuck some shit up, and us being like, oh shit, we got to go a different way about getting her because she is unhinged. Like, I thought it was going to go that route. That she was just like, unhinged weapon, but she was immediately like, either like, I'm weak or I'm ready to serve. She never had this thing of like, I'm angry and not from this earth, and I don't trust anybody. You know what I mean?
They literally, they did that for like half a second.
Yeah.
She has one line where she's like, I'm Kryptonian,
Like,
and she dips out. And then 3 seconds later, she comes back. We'll talk about that in a second, but you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And I don't think those lines really landed for me where Barry's like, oh, think about babies and pro wrestlers. I'm like, you need to do a little bit more convincing for somebody that's been locked in a Soviet lab for like
who knows how long. You know what I mean? Like,
and again, this is the Flashpoint comparison, whereas in the comic book, in the Flashpoint comic, it's Superman that's locked in a red sun cell. He's incredibly skinny and weak and all this stuff. So that's the comparison. But I mean, again, I talked about it in my non-spoilers. I think she does a great job. That scene where she kicks the shit out of, literally kicks people to space, was amazing, incredible to watch.
I needed so much more of that, because that was what excited me. Of like, she is not Superman. Yeah. She has no basis of
there's no morality. Yeah,
exactly. So I was like, I want to see you just be a fucking asshole because you can do these things and fuck these people. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I wanted to see. But
absolutely. Again, I felt like she's in this movie for like 15 minutes.
You probably.
I feel like she's barely in this movie, to the point where I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. There's the moment where Barry's carrying her out of there and he looks at her and he goes, I got you. And then like later, that's supposed to be such like an emotional moment where she lifts him up to get him his powers back. And she goes, I got you. I was like, but that just happened like 3 minutes ago. I have no emotional connection to these characters because she hasn't been on screen long enough.
And that's the thing. When you say like the pacing was good, I'm like, was it? Because shit like that happens, where it's like, I don't think that you, maybe there was a lot more film in this in the beginning and you cut it all. That doesn't make that doesn't make sense.
I have a feeling there's probably like a 4-hour cut of this movie.
I don't want to see it. Do not give me the Snyder cut of this film.
Give me the Snyder cut of The Flash.
Do not give me the Snyder cut of this film. I don't want to see it.
I'll do it. But yeah, no, absolutely. Again, that went to my complaint, is that I felt she did a great job. I wish there was more of her though.
Yes.
I think also her suit looks dope.
Yes.
I love her, the look of her suit, the design of her suit. It looks phenomenal. She looks great. We're kind of talking about the fight against Zod in the derelict desert. One, Michael Shannon clearly phoning it in, does not give a shit about this movie whatsoever. He's just kind of monologuing at times.
Would he give a shit when he barely exists in this movie where he was supposed to be the quote unquote big bad? I know he wasn't supposed to be the big bad, but like he's the to have the red herring there and not even acknowledge that he's the red herring was such a lazy move. And that's kind of one of my bigger issues with the movie when it comes to just what the fuck was the story trying to tell? I guess trying to tell a bigger moment, but they didn't even have you give you time to be like, oh shit, Zod's a really scary thing before they were like, this shit doesn't matter. Like, oh fucking, it's not my world. Fucking fuck it. Like,
it's almost like they banked on the Man of Steel from 10 years ago, giving you that background that you didn't get in this movie,
I wanted to almost see like, even if it's scene for scene, some of the same shit happens, you'd be like, oh fuck, like we
know what they
can't do this. Like,
they should have showed the scene where he killed baby Superman.
Yes, that's the thing.
Because he says it in this movie. The baby did not survive. They should have showed that scene. There you go.
Give me something to feel emotionally about. I just didn't give a fuck about him. I didn't give a fuck. And they have these unnamed fucking mistresses and shit. And it's like, I just don't care about these people. He's just big guy in a mask, bro. That's just fucking Bane.
Well, those are two from the Man of Steel. I think because they're expecting you to have seen Man of Steel, it's like, again, it's just the same people.
That's not fair to expect when it's been 10 years. That's not fair to expect.
Yeah. But that's like one of
I get your
It's
point.
another situation where so many people change in this world. Change them. Make them be different people. Shit. Make them be some of the heroes that you saw. We know that Arthur doesn't exist in this reality. Make Arthur a fucking person of Zod for some reason. I don't know. Just do something different.
Right.
But instead, they just were really lazy with everything except for the parts that had to do with Barry. And I just didn't.
That's fair.
I don't know. I just didn't vibe with it. I don't know.
That's fair. No, I get it.
mean, I don't know. My only issue with the whole fight, so I thought a lot of the fight sequence was pretty cool, especially the part where they were like teaming up and he was teaching them how to fight the Kryptonians and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. But my only issue was the whole time travel. I hate in time travel stuff where they just say like, no matter what we do, we can't change it. It's like, that's bullshit. If you have time travel.
Oh, that's classic. That's just classic paradox shit.
It felt like such an injustice to Michael Keaton and to, the Supergirl. What's her name? I'm not sure.
Dude, they just fucking die, bro.
I know.
There's no closure with them other than they are doomed to die.
Right.
That was crazy.
No matter what you do, we're going to lose this fight. And I'm like, that is bullshit. Like, I would have liked to see a cut where it's like, I would have liked to see it end differently, where it's like, hey, we're kind of all working on our own here.
Yeah.
Why don't we work together and we'll win? And they tried that, and then they lose again. And I just really didn't like that part of it, because you just introduced these really cool characters, and for her, in her case, she was really only on the screen for like a half hour max.
Again,
and then she dies, and she just doesn't. It just feels very kind of.
And her death is always lame.
It just didn't feel fair to them.
This is my biggest in terms of plot. This doesn't make any sense in the sense that I don't understand how Zod can stab her. She's super. That shouldn't be able to penetrate her.
Well, because
any way.
They're from Krypton, whatever. They're from.
It don't matter.
So
Zod couldn't do that to Superman and Man of Steel. As soon as that happened, I was like, wait a minute.
He's got special technology now. He learned.
No sense.
He tried to kill baby Superman and couldn't do it, so he's like, we're gonna build some new shit.
Because the only reason that, at least in the Man of Steel logic, the only way that Superman was able to be hurt by Zod was he was in the Kryptonian atmosphere, and that was basically like kryptonite, and it weakened him. As far as we know, Supergirl was totally fine. Why? So I was like, what? Anyways, okay, plot point, whatever. That makes no sense. Saying. But okay, moving on.
And I just don't understand how people can see that and just be so okay with it, because it's so dumb.
Because there's so many colors on the screen.
She was
Brian,
so much stronger than him in so many ways, and then he just goes and yoink. And the first time makes sense, because okay, she got caught off guard, whatever. It happened to Goku.
Right.
The shit happens, whatever. But then every other time that it happens, it's just like, this is really stupid. This is really fucking stupid. You're trying so hard to move a plot point that you don't even care about what makes it move. And I just can't. I can't fuck with that.
No, that makes sense.
I can't fuck with it.
That makes sense.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I totally agree.
Because she was kicking his ass. It wasn't close. You know what I mean?
No. Especially I did again, back to just giving more props to her, the moment where she finds out that Superman's dead and she's like, what did you do? And she just pounding the shit out of him. So satisfying.
That rod, she's beating him like a drum.
Yeah. I love the idea that she's stronger than Superman. That she's more, she knows.
She's just unhinged.
Yeah, she's just unhinged power.
Because she was that fight was not as close as it was with Superman. She was kicking his ass for most of the time.
I almost hate that she ran away the first time she saw them, because it was like, you probably could have just fucking whipped their shit. You didn't need us. Why is Batman here? Girl, you just fucking him up.
Right?
Shit like that.
So fair.
Yeah, I don't know. I just felt like there was a really interesting place they could have gone with that they just really missed, because they wanted to make it about the fact that Barry has to understand that the whole point of this movie is that you have to move on.
Again. The movie's called The Flash, so I
mean, it's called The Flash, but you called The Flash, and we saw those trailers, and it was barely The Flash.
Right. Which I will give them props. By the end of this movie is a Flash movie.
It was.
Even though we were like, it's a Batman movie with The Flash, this is an Ezra Miller Flash movie, and I will give them props for that. They stuck with it.
They did stick with it.
Yeah.
But I almost hate. It's almost might have been a bad decision.
I know. I know, right? Yeah. Yeah, a little bit. This should have been called Justice League Flashpoint. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Quick little shout outs. I love Batman, how he barrel rolls, but his actual seat doesn't move. I loved that. Really I was like, oh, that's I really enjoy that a lot. That was dope. Flash's cyclone attack with the tornado. He makes a little tornado. Love that. Classic Flash shit. And then I do love Michael Keaton taking out the big Kryptonian, just classic Batman shit, putting bombs everywhere, and then he dies.
That was cool. That was sick.
That is Batman. Batman would stand no chance against a Kryptonian, but he will go down fighting and die in the process of taking one out. I thought that was classic shit.
Badass deaths. The one where he crashes in, and then that one.
Yeah.
So he got 2 badass entrances.
I'm just
exits,
saying,
which was pretty
give
cool.
Batman 30 minutes of prep time, and he would have washed him easy.
Yeah.
You know.
I fucking hate Batman's prep time. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about obviously the big fucking Act 4 OMG moment that wasn't really an OMG moment for me personally. Because I keyed in, I was like, "Oh, so this? I bet you this is gonna be future Barry." Is that monster?
As soon as he punched him, I
Mhm.
knew it was fucking Nega Flash or whatever the fuck it was supposed
Reverse
to be.
Flash.
Yeah, I did.
Dark Flash,
Yeah.
Black
I
Flash.
feel like they tried
yeah.
to allude to the fact that it was Reverse Flash, but it's not.
It's not. No.
But yeah, I mean, we figured that out once we actually saw that. It was like, oh, it's the Barry that we're seeing right here, right now.
Right.
Mhm.
As soon as he got one little thing pierced in him, I'm like, oh, it's him.
It wasn't good. It wasn't a good because they didn't do enough with it to allude to anything until the end. And like, I get it. It was one of those situations where again, like, yes, Zod is not supposed to be the big bad. The big bad's supposed to be Barry himself.
Right.
And in this case, is gonna be other Barry himself trying to save what you already decided and already understood that you didn't need to. Because this other Barry was very
Right.
young and very, he's green. He just doesn't know what he can
Yeah.
and can't do yet. I don't know about the way the Dark Flash felt. I felt like it's one of those things where it's like you have to leave some kind of breadcrumbs. And
Right.
him punching him into the universe in that one space wasn't
That
enough
was
for
it.
me. It
That was
just
like the
wasn't.
That was
only
it,
issue
yeah.
Especially when
mentioned.
he was supposed to be the kind of like the big bad or whatever, and then to go from that and then to whatever that battle was supposed to be was just not like. If anything, I'm gonna write a scene real quick right now. What I'm gonna do
Okay,
with the
go.
ending with it.
Here we
We're gonna
go.
make a whole situation. We already left breadcrumbs. We've seen Dark Barry go through some of these. Like he'll show up in some random moments. We're like, who the fuck is that in that darkness right there? Oh shit, who was that? He's like creeping.
Mhm.
He's creeping on Barry right now. And then it gets to the final battle once he tries to like go back in time and he pulls him out there and he's like, no, bitch, this is never gonna happen. I've been following you for this long because I know what happens. There's no way.
Yeah.
I made you do this. And then they have a big old fight. He punches some different universes. You see Nicolas Cage Superman. You see fucking Justice League at some point. You see all this shit. They're fighting in different multiverses. Do something like that where you actually see a point where it's like, boom, there we go. And that's when
Yeah.
you see something that's like, okay, I understand what's really happening here. Like, that's some big shit that's happening right now. Like, oh shit, maybe they get involved. I don't know. Maybe not. Put
Yeah.
Superman in there. I don't know. But the fact that you got to show them in a way that is just not like a fucking fake. Just
I
not
was
so
genuinely
fake.
surprised we did not get a speedster versus speedster fight. Like,
Yeah.
I was
Mhm.
genuinely surprised by that.
So that's
you know?
kind of, I think that Zod would have landed better if there was something more. But when we got to the something more was nothing. They had a conversation. He gave up and died. Like, the fuck? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
No, that's fair. That's fair. I didn't even think about that until you brought that up, and that's absolutely fair. Because like when in the moment when it was happening, I was like, again, like I was saying, I wasn't surprised. The one bit that I was surprised by was that he was old, Barry, already,
Yeah.
and he had been doing this for years and years. I thought it was gonna be young Barry is gonna just slowly turn and they're gonna fight. But the fact that it was the three of them, and then it's obviously old Dark Flash kills young Barry, and then he obviously is killing himself, and that's what it ends, which is the typical Flash shit. I was surprised by that.
I think
yeah.
you make a good point there too. I think it also would have landed better if it was the Barry that we had seen for so long. Watch him go crazy. Watch him descend
Right.
into madness because time is a circle at this point, so it doesn't matter how long it actually is in real life. It's the fact that you
Exactly.
see it now. Watch him go into madness, but when you made it a third person that we don't know anything about or haven't learned anything about, it's that much more away from us that we just can't relate. And that's kind of just my
Mhm.
issue. It's just like so many things I just felt like I couldn't relate, where I felt like I should have.
Yeah.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Also, Dark Barry's suit looked just like a bunch of mush. I
Yeah,
get it.
that-
I get the
Mhm.
aesthetic, but it just looked like a bunch of mush. Whatever.
There were ways they could have done that a little bit better for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But I mean, I did love that, like, when all the multiverses were kind of crashing into each other, it was cool to acknowledge like the other versions of Superman, and then the Nick
Let's
Cage,
get into it.
the Nick Cage that never happened. That's awesome.
Yes.
I love Nick Cage with that long ass mane. That shit's so good.
We saw Adam West Batman. We saw Christopher Reeves.
Christopher
the original
Reeves, Superman, which let's get into cameo corner right now, real quick.
They showed George Reeves, did they not? George Reeves,
Yes.
the man that murdered himself over being Superman. That's probably not a good look. Yeah, George Reeves
Yikes.
had a really interesting career in the fact that he got
Sure did.
typecasted as Superman and wanted to go on to make his own movies and do his own shit, and couldn't find a footing to the point that his career felt so wrong that he killed himself. He shot himself in the head.
Wow.
Yeah, it was because he was struggling to make money outside of doing Superman stuff. So he kept doing Superman stuff for a while, and he hated it. And then he killed himself. To put him in this movie was maybe not the play.
Oof, I don't know.
To put him as a PlayStation 2 character, especially, was really a kick in the nuts.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about the CG, because, like, again, this is the moment I was talking about pre-spoilers, where I was like, this is a moment that's specifically for a person like me, where, like, seeing Christopher Reeve Superman just brought me so much joy. Even with the weird CG ghostliness of it, seeing him and then fucking bringing Helen Slater Supergirl, who those two never shared the screen in their super suits like that ever, was just a magical moment for me as a Superman person. I was like, that was awesome. Obviously, yeah, Devin kind of laid some of that. We saw George Reeves. We saw Adam West Batman. We see Golden Age Jay Garrick Flash with the hat and everything. And then obviously the big one, which genuinely surprised me, was Nicolas Cage Superman fighting that spider. Which if listeners, and again, a lot of people might not know this story, so I understand if this is like a what the fuck moment. But for me, I was like, oh my god, this is it. What the shit? This is so nuts.
Nicolas Cage had screen tests as Superman.
There's photos of him in the suit. They were about to do this movie, and then it all just went to hell. There's a huge documentary. Listeners, there's a documentary called "The Death of Superman Lives," and if you want to know anything about this, go check it out.
Yeah,
but yeah,
crazy.
That was wild.
I did love that they did that. I just wish it didn't look so goddamn awful.
That's fair enough.
I do want to say there are two that were omitted that I wish they had been included, and that is.
Then you say Smallville because it should be Smallville.
I was gonna say Smallville.
Yes.
just because he deserves to be in there, and the Christopher Nolan Batman. Like I would have just liked to see one little shot.
That would have been cool. That would have been cool.
Christian Bale, but
yeah. That, and I will say, not gonna lie, it kind of hurt me a little bit that you didn't get 9 years of Grant Gustin, the Flash from the CW in this movie at all.
I mean, that was another reason where it's like, why do you need the dead people when you have people that are alive that are doing these things in a multiverse? There's a multiverse movie. Put the multiverse people in it. Fucking CW don't get shit. Give them some fucking 2 seconds of screen time. Pay them a few G's. Give them their fucking money.
Especially because, spoilers for the CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover. Ezra Miller appeared in that crossover with Grant Gustin the Flash.
Really? More reason. What the fuck?
Exactly. Like there was a scene that the two of them had together in this multiverse crossover with the two of those Flashes. And that's why I was genuinely surprised that they didn't reciprocate and do it the other way.
Wow,
but anyway.
That's actually wild. That is really shitty. I hate this movie more now. Thank you.
All right, quick rounding off cameo corner. Obviously, we get Aquaman's father, Temuera Morrison's in this movie in a universe where Aquaman does not exist. Very funny. We talked about Wonder Woman already. Superman is shown in a CG fighting a volcano in Guatemala. All right, whatever. We got to talk about the fact that Jamie Lannister's in this movie for some fucking
reason.
Was that him?
I figured it was him, yes. Not eating this fucking donut.
I thought it was him. I was like, nah, he wouldn't do that. But why?
Why is he in this movie for 3 seconds?
He hasn't gotten a lot of work recently, so I don't understand.
What the hell?
Man's trying to make a buck. I get it.
That was so wild.
Because later I thought it was the guy that he stole the hot dog from at the end. I thought it was maybe the same guy. So I was like, oh, okay, it wasn't Jimmy Lannister. But
no, I think honestly that second guy, I'm pretty sure was Andy Muschietti, the director of the movie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Funny.
That was weird as shit. I was like, what the oh no. Where's your career
random.
go? I'm so sorry. Anyways, let's finish off cameo corner real quick at the end. Obviously, the big cameo. Ezra Miller's in the George Clooney Batman universe.
Yeah, that was funny.
What the fuck, dude? That was so wild.
That was such a random one to put him in.
Oh my goodness.
How much did they have to pay George Clooney for about 5 minutes of his time?
Too much.
They probably just had to buy some espresso machine from him or something.
Yeah, that was very cool. And I'm glad that the trailer, or like, I didn't get that spoiled for me, because I feel like the trailer for this movie gave away so much, but I found myself by the end kind
They
of
hit a
impressed by
lot.
how much it didn't give away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it did save up a lot, and that was definitely the biggest thing.
And I also think it's the smartest way that they can get rid of Ezra Miller if they don't want to keep them is by saying they're in the George Clooney universe. This is a different world. We don't need to acknowledge them ever again.
Mhm. Very
Which
true.
I don't think they have any other acting roles lined up right now. So
Right. And obviously, we'll finish off with the cameo corner with the post credits. Obviously, Aquaman is also in this movie. I was very confused as to is this still Ezra Miller in that George Clooney world? Because he's talking
It's
about
gotta
like
be.
there's
Yeah.
different Batman, and
I
it
don't
was
know,
very
man.
confusing. But whatever, it was
Well,
fine.
the way
Whatever.
I interpret it is that because they said some things change like in the same timeline when you play with time, so maybe everything else is the same, but like but just George Clooney like Batman looks a little different. Like
Right.
I don't know,
It was
but everything
interesting.
else is the same. And it could even be the same Bruce Wayne, but his perception is just different coming back to it. Like,
That's true.
They could have
That's
all
true.
the same memories, all that kind. I don't know, but that's
I
the thing.
hate
It's a gray
multiverse
area.
shit.
Yeah, it gets confusing if you try to define it too much.
And then I know we're running long, listeners, so we'll try to wrap up very quickly. We have to acknowledge his mom, which for one thing I was like, oh, his mom's Latina. We don't. I don't want Ezra Miller on my squad. I'm sorry. Sorry.
We will be
Disavow,
trading
disavow.
them as soon as possible.
No, we don't want him. We don't want him. But anyways, I think his mom was fantastic. And this was the one emotional moment that honestly genuinely worked for me is Barry saying goodbye to his mom
Yes.
and just sitting in the slow-mo trying to embrace every millisecond possible before having to say goodbye. I thought that genuinely worked for me in a really good way.
Yeah. Man, when the tears started falling when he was wearing the sunglasses, like from it, oh man, it hit pretty.
It was
hit
good.
pretty hard.
It's a good scene.
The only time it hit, because I do think that like doing all this shit for your mother, knowing that like all moms die, like that's an unfortunate aspect of life that people die, and that is part.
Yeah.
To do all of this and potentially ruin the entire universe for your mother is a hard sell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to sell the gravity of that and to try to do all of that for it.
And when he learned his lesson by the end, I still don't buy that he couldn't have saved her, because like I hate that in time travel stuff where it's like, oh no, this is just destined to happen. No matter what you do, we can't change this one thing. And it's like I just don't buy that. Like,
I mean, it's like yes and no. That's the only part that does make sense to me when it comes to those kind of things, where it's like, yeah, your mother being alive for a lot longer than she was supposed to be will change a lot of shit. Like like it's just one of those things where it's like if one thing changed about your life, it can change a lot about your life. Say your mom treats you a little bit better than she did in, your normal life right now. How much better would that set you off as far as mental health goes? Maybe you'll accomplish more.
Right.
Maybe you'll be something different. Maybe you'll be a lawyer now because things like that will change just based on that little bit of change. So I can see that. That makes sense to me. It's everything else that I'm like,
I mean, that even goes to the conversation that Barry has with himself where he gets pissed off at young Barry saying like, you're ungrateful. You have no idea how good you had it, but all blah, 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 all this stuff.
Young Barry's a little shit. He sucks.
Right. Yeah. So shout out to them. I think, that's pretty much it for me. Again, I will always forever wonder what the Henry Cavill cameo that they cut from this movie was. We'll never fucking know until we know. No Supergirl closure. She's just dead.
yeah, she literally just is dead.
I will say, back to the Supergirl thing real quick. I 1,000% think, and this has nothing to do with her as an actor. I think she was phenomenal. She killed it. That role would have had so much more weight if it was Henry Cavill Superman.
Unfortunately,
we would have had 10 years of this dude, and then having him be that role would have meant so much more, especially watching him die over and over again. Having like all that background, I think would have worked even more. But again, shout out to her. She killed it. She crushed it. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
This conversation did not change my opinion. I still don't like this movie.
But will this real quick tidbit, Brian, change your opinion in the sense that, this was going to be in the news. We'll talk about it here. Apparently, Andy Muschietti, who directed this movie, is going to do the Batman and the Brave and the Bold Batman movie with the Batman and Robin one in the James Gunn universe, which genuinely surprised by. And I kind of hope that the movie isn't as jokey as this one is. I hope they got some levels. I think they do. He directed it, so I think he's got some levels to him. So that'll be fun. And then second thing is, how do you guys feel about that? He is also attached and has been attached for a while to direct a live action Attack on Titan.
That second part, I'm gonna answer first. No, he should not do that. That sounds ridiculously awful. That's about all I got. I don't the fact that he wants to do or he is doing Batman Brave and the Bold.
That's fair.
I am a little worried about that. I did not watch Mama. I heard that it was decent, but I don't know too much about it. It was good. I didn't watch the second chapter of it.
It's
But
fine.
also I think it was really easy to be good because it was kind of going off the coattails of Stranger Things, which I think did really well, and it became Stranger Things season 3 at the time.
Right.
Fair. So
We'll see.
I don't know what your directing chops are quite yet, sir.
Yeah.
I didn't like this one. I'll let you know that.
I will say I will give him props for having to balance all of these elements as best he could and all the controversy behind it. So if he can do a movie without at least the background bullshit, maybe, yeah.
This was the Obama presidency of directing, for sure. You had a lot to clean up, friend. I'm not jealous of what you had to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see. That is it for me, guys. Is that it for y'all? Are we done talking about The Flash? We'll talk about The Flash in 9 more years whenever that next movie comes out, if they ever make it.
Ezra Miller.
We will see.
It's gonna be the front.
Oh, we'll see if Ezra sticks around. We'll find out. With that, though, guys, shall we now move into our final segment of the week, which we like to call Free for All, title pending. This is a segment, listeners. We can talk about whatever we want, recommend something, talk about our day. It's nap, fight. It's free for all. I will very quickly go first because I, for one, have a video game to talk about that I'm very excited to talk about. I played.
You finished Ragnarok.
I mean, obviously, Devin. Thank you. But no, I'm talking about Lies of P, a game that is coming out later this year. I downloaded and played and beat the demo. It is a game developed by the studio. I can't remember. They're a Korean-based studio. I don't remember what their name is, though. But it is a Dark Souls, Bloodborne style game, which I have not played in probably a decade since the first Dark Souls. I haven't touched a game like this just because I haven't beaten the first Dark Souls, never did it. This game was honestly, after thinking about it, it's probably pretty phenomenal. It's frustrating as fuck. It's just genuinely long demo, depending on your how good you are at it. I think I clocked in probably like 5-6 hours on this demo, which is kind of wild to think about. And every time I was like, oh, this is the end. I'm fighting this boss. This is the end. The title screen popped up. Nope. There's a good couple hours after that. Like it's a decent demo. I was like, holy shit, this is kind of amazing.
I love a fleshed out demo.
You should play it. Everyone should play it. It's on Xbox, PlayStation, PC. Play it. Everyone play it. Like I said, I haven't played a game like this in a while, so it was kind of fun to get into. I was like, oh my God, I forgot how much I kind of love this style of game. And it made me want to play Elden Ring, I'm not gonna lie. And go back and finish Dark Souls. I love the aesthetic. It's very steampunky, obviously, with the whole Pinocchio thing. I honestly love the Pinocchio story of it all. Like the way they've kind of woven in these weird Pinocchio things and how for one thing, everyone in is hot. They're all sexy as fuck.
It's one of those games. Okay.
Pinocchio's hot. The fucking Geppetto is hot. The blue fairy's hot. Everyone's hot in this game. But I love that there's alluding, at least in this demo, to some side quests potentially. And also, they seem to be making some kind of effort to the whole Pinocchio lying thing. The game's called Lies of P, where you have to make choices to lie in this game. And that could affect either maybe weapons you get or items you get or story beats. I don't know how in-depth it's going to get, but I like the idea of it. And it could be something very interesting in terms of replayability as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm hoping
cool.
that ends up being a big deal, but we'll see. I probably still won't pick up this game day one. I'll see how it turns out. I'll probably pick it up when it's a little cheaper. It honestly depends on how my life is, what's going on in my life at that point, because this game will probably take a long time to beat.
It's just if you lie and if you keep lying, eventually your nose gets so long you just can't get into rooms. Like you can't move on the map.
Your nose gets so long it becomes your weapon. You fight with your nose.
Yeah.
And nothing
Oh
else.
my God, that would be amazing.
You just get stuck and you can't progress. So
Yeah.
you gotta.
That would be so good. But yeah, no, it's cool. Like they have obviously there's weapons and you have you're like the Winter Soldier. You have a robot arm because you're still you're still a puppet. And so that's kind of the idea, is that because you're such a special puppet, you can lie, whereas all other puppets cannot lie. And so you're able to manipulate and do these things. But again, the combat feels good. Again, the design, the art design, everything about it is pretty phenomenal, at least from what I played. And yeah, man, I was like, fuck, scoot over Final Fantasy, because I was ready to play Final Fantasy 7 after seeing that Rebirth shit. I'm like, let me go back to Dark Souls on the PS3. Shit.
I'm glad it looks good. I was a little worried about this when I first saw it because it sounds like some bullshit. You can really tell we're running out of ideas when we're making shit about Pinocchio and making it a dark world.
Right.
But then once I started seeing those trailers, I was like, okay, I'm interested in playing it. One of the big
Yeah.
reasons I'm interested in playing it is because it is not 30 frames per second. Because Jesus fuck,
Dude, it flows.
games like Dark Souls are better when there are more frames. And I wish people would
Yeah.
understand that a little bit more. I know a lot of console people haven't got to get that and enjoy that. I think Elden Ring might have been the first ones that really did that. But Bloodborne, a 60 frames Bloodborne would be so much better than 30 frames Bloodborne. And people just
Yeah.
need to see it. So maybe this game will be like, okay, we understand why
Yeah.
more frames are indeed better when it comes when you have to make frame perfect kind of like juxtaposition issues. This is where it
Absolutely.
works. Like, so that's
Yeah,
cool.
man. And like this also made me want to go back and play Bloodborne, a game I have not yet ever played, but everyone is calling this Bloodborne 2, basically. And I'm like, shit, I might have to go back and play Bloodborne.
Bloodborne's like apparently one of the best games on PS4, so I feel like you should.
Yeah. So that's me. Shout
Hmm.
out to God of War Ragnarok, as Devin alluded. So that's me.
As always. You can go. Mine's very quick.
I mean, I'll go real quick. It's not really
Yeah.
not much of anything. As everyone knows, I've been playing Diablo 4. I've recently beat the campaign
Oh,
of
yeah.
Diablo. I've gotten
Ooh.
to level 50 out of 100, but 50 is considered like the
Ooh.
quote-unquote end game of the game. So yeah, I'm there very quickly. And I haven't played a lot of Diablo. I'm not having so much fun anymore. And I don't know what to do about
Oh,
it.
no.
So of course, Diablo, the part of Diablo is supposed to be about the grind and getting the good gear that you want to get and shit like that. I don't know if it's ever been this hard to get where you want to get
Interesting.
beforehand, but I just really don't feel like I have a lot that's really interesting to do after I got 50. Once you get to 50, the kind of thing you want to do is like either like finish up your side quest, stuff like that, get renowned, which gives you some more skill points to be able to use, and then just kind of do your daily stuff and then level up from there. I think that's what the game is supposed to kind of make you to do, but it doesn't really tell you that. And then do like nightmare dungeons, quote unquote, and those are like the dungeons to test your skill, and they'll also give you rewards for doing that, things like that, and that's how you level up some other stuff. But it just doesn't really feel like it, one, tells you that, or two, really feels rewarding to do those things. I find myself a lot of times doing these things and then finding out I get nothing, and then feeling like shit for it. So I just waste an hour of my time to get nothing.
That sucks.
So I'm wondering if they're gonna. I know they're gonna have seasons of this game where like the season, like you get reset to level 1, you gotta go through it all over again. I'm wondering if they're gonna try to fix some of that stuff and make it a little bit better. But right now, I don't know if this game's gonna have a longevity kind of situation. 'Cause
Wow.
I'm 53 out of 100 right now, and I'm kind of getting to the point where I feel like if I get to about level 70, I don't know if I'm gonna want to play anymore at that point. Like, I feel like I'll kind of
Shit.
be over it at that point. I'm still kind of in the mode where I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Right.
Secondhand, I also want to talk about the fucking store. So this game cost me $70 fucking dollars, and that is one of the
Oh, boy.
worst things about this game because I played a game called Lost Ark, which was a free game, and in a lot of ways, I feel like the end game of Lost Ark was a lot better than this. Like, I actually had a lot of fun playing the end game of that game. I only gave it up because, I don't know, I was probably playing something else, and it's just hard to come back to after you played something else. That's really the only reason. This game cost me $70. I was looking at the game store, and I was looking, you can get like skins and stuff, cosmetics for your character. To get a full fit of armor, just to look different,
$10.
$10 is disgustingly low. It is
no.
$25 to
Oh
get
my
a
God.
full set of gear that does not increase your character ability by any means whatsoever in order to do that. And that is so
Jesus.
fucking despicable. That is villain shit. And I hate it.
Yeah.
$25.
And that is for a game that is not free. This game cost me $70. And you want me to spend, you know how many games I bought for $25? Whole video games, AAA video games that have had 40 hours of gameplay have cost me $25. You want me to spend
That's
it
nuts.
so my character can be fucking yellow? Fuck you. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Are games all now $70? Is that the new $60?
That's a new
game?
standard right now. Yeah, they're trying
It's
to get
kind of
towards it.
getting that
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
God.
Sonic said they're going to do it, so it's everyone.
I blame Joe. No, I'm just kidding. Inflation. Inflation sucks.
I mean, no, there's a good documentary on
But also
why it took
agreed.
so long for games to get to this point. It's because it actually doesn't affect how much production companies make from making games. I can go
Right.
into a whole
Ugh.
thing about it, but yeah, it being $70 is not because it costs more money to make games. It's solely because of greed. It's basically the end all be all of it. So
Yeah.
Yeah. enjoy that
sense.
fact.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Yeah, I miss the old days when games were, before the suits took over. Anyway, yeah, that sounds fun,
Yeah, man.
but not really. It sounds.
I know.
not
I'm sad that you are already burnt out. That game's been out for like
Yeah.
a week.
I was about to say, I played this game for maybe 4 days straight now. That's it.
I feel like I've definitely kind of checked out on like loot-based games, unless
Yeah.
the gameplay itself is very, very fun. But like, I think if it's and there's some that it is, but like some like Diablo, especially where you kind of go in knowing that that's kind of the main thing, it's like, I don't know, I just don't really have any motivation to play it.
Yeah, it was big, so my friends were playing that I decided to play. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bought this.
And
Right.
the co-op part of it, I guess, is the big attraction, right?
That's
Yeah.
true.
But
Yeah.
that's cool. It's a dungeon crawler.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I can really quickly go. I recently got Apple TV because Messi is coming to the MLS, so I just had to sign up
You're
and
a
get
sick bastard.
I had to get the MLS season pass with Apple TV. So anyway, I started Foundation, which is sick. Like Apple TV looks like they got about 10 shows on there, but all of them look really, really good. So we started Foundation, and man, it escalated quickly, and I am all in. It's some pretty heavy sci-fi based on, I think, a book by Isaac Asimov, the guy who made iRobot, I'm pretty sure. And he's like classic sci-fi author. So I don't know, but only seen one episode so far. I will let you guys know if it keeps the momentum up, but I'm all the way in. Lee Pace is in it. Once again, playing he's very good at playing a regal dick.
So he's just Thranduil again from The Hobbit?
Yes, but yeah. No, he is. He's basically the same guy. He's very good at that. Like, he could play like a Roman emperor,
Yeah.
He'd be very good at that.
Nice. That's pretty dope. Yeah, you have to let us know how that show goes, because I know, like, I've heard a lot about that show in terms of, I think, aren't they making like a video game on that show or something like that? I don't remember. Or maybe that's something else. I can't remember. Anyways, that's dope, man. Yeah, pretty exciting. Let us know how Messi does.
Yeah. He'll be in Miami.
Right. All right, listeners. I know it's been a long episode, but that is the end for us this week. You can email us at thefortress@gmail.com, Fourtress about FOUR. Feel free to email us any questions, feedback, recommendations, or anything like that. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and the YouTube channel at The Fourtress of. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your grandma, tell your cat. Follow the 3 R's like a beautiful Bollywood movie. Rate, review, and recommend us to anyone and everyone you know. Thank you, Jackie, for helping edit the podcast every week. Thank you, Brian, for the art. Thank you, Alex, for the music, and Devin, thank you for being here, even when you're not in the country. You can find Brian on Instagram at ITC_ by the way, Alex at Peterson Films, and Devin, you can find him. Whew.
And somewhere in the multiverse.
He's in the he's traveling the multiverse because we don't know. He's the man of mystery. Next week, listeners, we don't know. We're gonna have some fun. We got a free week. We're gonna do something because take a break from these movies. And we'll let you know. We'll be here either way. So come join us.
Hey, but it's summer blockbuster time, It's just one after, they just keep coming.
I know, one right after another. They really have been. And as usual, happy holidays, and put a code on its code out there.
Remember, don't run too fast or you might end up in the past.
Don't run too fast or you might kill your mom. All right, listen.
Yeah, you may have to re-kill your mom
You might have.
if she's already dead.
All right, listeners, that is it for us this week, and we will see you here next week in another episode in the Fortress of...